Hi everyone, in this video we explore how to create your guiding principles. Guiding principles in our PPV life operating system are succinct summations of what you value in life and what makes life meaningful to you. It's the highest level that we want to keep our daily actions true to and aligned with. In the previous video, we discussed identity sculpting, or how to deliberately shape your self-identity. This is a major step toward becoming the person you need to become to achieve the things you want to achieve in life. On this channel, we explore creating systems in our lives to perform better and achieve what matters most to each of us. And in order to create these systems, we must know what matters most to each of us. This is why we need a clear sense of our guiding principles. A comprehensive exploration of this could take months or even years, but I want to provide a very practical framework to make progress with this on your own. Of course, guidance from others in the process can help, and we have a more extensive structured approach to this in the Notion Life Design course. Most efforts to tackle this are highly conceptual and abstract, and this is fine, this can be valuable, but it leaves you not knowing what to actually do. You just end up with a list of questions and answers and no actionable path to implement it in your life. This video is meant to be a practical and actionable approach that you can implement. When asked, what do you value? Most people are not sure. The question is usually met with a blank stare or an obvious, superficial answer. The answers are often just regurgitations of what we think we're expected to say. Let's get past that. In terms of meaning in life, we must create our own meaning. It is not bestowed upon us. We don't inherently have meaning. We create it. This is one of the highest purposes of life, to create your meaning in the world. Our meaning almost always comes from responsibility. No responsibility, no meaning, no purpose. If you want meaning and purpose, you must accept responsibility. Use what you learn about your values here to choose your responsibilities. Put yourself in a position where other people can depend on you. Then don't let them down. Over-deliver. This does not mean ignoring yourself or your own needs. You need to build yourself up as well, so you have the strength and the resources to deliver on your purpose. So, how do we understand what we actually value in life? Instead of starting with the endpoint question, let's work our way to it with more accessible and clear steps. First ask, what are the experiences in your life that have meant the most to you, good or bad? The ones that have made the biggest impact either way. And similarly, who are the people in your life who have made the biggest impact in you, good or bad? And what are the places that have had the biggest impact? These are all prompts, and the purpose is to jog your memory, to go back into your experiences and identify the things that resonated most deeply with you, that had the most profound internal impact in how you felt. And this is an indication of meaning. Meaning hits you deep inside. It's not the superficial, it's not the things we plow through and just jump one to another. It's the things that resonate deeply and leave a lasting impression inside of us. So going through these prompts, we're going through an exercise of bringing these back up, revisiting, making them more present and current in our thinking as we go through this exercise. Separate the good ones and the bad ones into two lists. Dig deeper and add to it. What times, places, and experiences are you most grateful for? Which do you regret the most? What have you overcome that was really deeply meaningful to you? What are you most proud of having achieved and persevered through and accomplished? Look back and document in writing these activities. Review your past journals or calendars. Ask family members to discuss and help with your memory so you can really revisit the wide range of things that you've encountered in your life and identify the things that really touched you most deeply inside. So first look broadly at the biggest events in your life, across the whole span of your life. And then look micro at the week-to-week challenges, the victories, the disappointments that you routinely encounter, the things that just happen over and over again. Look for these, the mini wins, the mini losses, the mini frustrations, document them all. You can organize them by biggest to smallest and good and bad. Put a little structure to it. It'll kind of depend on the ones that you're coming up with, how to organize it, but organize them in category headers and sub-bullet points. Then lay this all out on a timeline. Doesn't have to be one explicit timeline, but loose clumps through different eras of your history. And with all this captured, study it in written form, looking for patterns. What is recurring over and over again? Are there any clear feedback loops? Remember from our previous systems thinking videos, feedback loops are instances where there are recurring patterns where each iteration pours more momentum and resources into the next iteration. So each one builds and gets stronger, or in a downward feedback loop where each one drains energy and resources and each becomes smaller, weaker, and more feeble as it goes. You're looking for these patterns in your life that were building and getting stronger or decreasing and getting weaker if they exist. Or if not, just look for recurring patterns. Now, with these feedback loops, they won't be forever. Like there'll be a period of time, maybe 6 months or a year, where something was building. Perhaps your fitness, you went through a big fitness push, or you were learning new skills and getting new capabilities. And as you learn new things, you got more interested and you got better at it. And so that was a positive feedback loop. Or maybe there was a period where your health was just deteriorating, perhaps through bad dietary choices, or perhaps through illness, things you had no control over, but things just got worse and worse and worse. You're looking for these patterns. And again, looking for the ones that had the deepest internal impact on you, that had meaning to you. Another example of this could be self-criticism. If you get into this feedback loop of putting yourself down, doubting yourself, and that just leads to fewer efforts to try, things get worse. You criticize yourself more because things are getting worse. Again, that's a feedback loop. Identify them. Now, again, the ones that were no big deal and you just brushed them off, don't worry about that. But we're looking for the ones that reveal deep internal meaning to you. So they hurt. Some way there's a deep internal meaning that revealed itself. And we're attaching that to actions. It's much easier to look for actions than just think of the descriptive words of value and meaning. So we're looking for specific tangible actions here and events and experiences that have meaning attached to them. It's much easier to discover the meaning that way. Now, once you've done that and you've written it out, it's got to be written either on paper or in Notion or in Evernote and whatever digital document or paper document or journal or notebook you use, lay it out. Now, reflect on what this says about you. What has improved your life and felt meaningful and rewarding? What really felt negative and hurtful and just stung? You want to understand these events, experiences, people, places, milestones in your life. Are there instances that felt good at the time, but on reflection, looking back, don't feel that great? Or perhaps you even feel regret? Are there things that were unpleasant at the time, but in reflection were really meaningful and even rewarding? Sometimes the experience in the moment feels one way, but over time, in our memories, in our reflection on it, it feels sometimes even the opposite way. Look for that. That's going to tell you a lot about what's meaningful and where you find value, and perhaps even how your value and meaning has changed over time. Study these real-world situations for where you find meaning and value. You're essentially mining these experiences and memories. This is a very tangible approach. It brings clarity and specifics. Clarity and specifics are going to let you understand it much better than just trying to think, oh, what do I value? What do I find meaningful? You're attaching it to actual things that you touched and felt and experienced and went through. And document all this, organize it, reflect it, study it, extrapolate insight from it. You will ultimately want to create more of these valued activities and experiences in your life, but understanding the ones that meant the most in the positive way, or it's going to help you understand what you want to be pursuing more of in your life going forward. Then take these insights from here and now define them in short bullet points. Number 1, what I value. 2, 3, 4, 5 bullet points. What I value based on what we learned from all these experiences and patterns and potentially feedback loops that we've been studying and examining here. You want to boil it down into a very small number of succinct bullet points. And then number 2, the category header is where I find purpose and meaning in life. Again, 2 to 5 or 6 bullet points, extrapolating from the patterns we saw in all the experiences we just went through mining. And then number 3, how will I live to maximize this value and meaning in life? Now we're going to take what we learned about what we value and what we find meaningful. You want to review these regularly. In our Pillars, Pipelines, and Vaults PPV system, we have a synced block with these guiding principles, which are at the top of the alignment zone if you use PPV and Notion. If you don't worry about it. This can be done in any platform. But at the top of our alignment zone, we have the guiding principles with these in a sync block. And then we have a sync block mirroring these guiding principles at the beginning of every weekly review. So once a week, when we sit down to do our weekly review, we reflect on these briefly by just reading through these very few bullet points. That's why it's important that they're short. It's easy for us to revisit them and stay close to them. Most of the time, you write down things you find meaningful in life, you value, you go through an exercise like this. If you even do. Most people don't. But if you're proactive enough to actually do it, you write them down, then you put them in a drawer or you put them in Evernote and you never see them again. They just disappear. We need to stay close to them. It's not just a matter of identifying them. It's first identifying them and then staying close to them by reviewing them regularly. And in PPV, we do that at the beginning of our weekly review. It takes less than a minute, maybe 30 seconds, but we stay close and therefore present in our lives as a guiding force. We also reflect on them before any major decisions. Check in on your guiding principles to help guide you. A lot of times you're struggling with a big decision. If you just take a look at these guiding principles, they are there to serve you. That's why they exist. This insight, this understanding needs to be present when you're making big decisions. So often you're struggling with something. It seems like such a tough one. If you just reflect on the guiding principles, so often the answer becomes really apparent and obvious. So check in on them, big decisions, and once a week or every week or two through a regular review process so you stay close to them and they can continue to guide you and serve you. And you want to establish goals that are very directly aligned with these values and sources of meaning. So when you set your goals, if you're using PPV and doing value goals and outcome goals, you start the value goals and make sure they're in alignment with your guiding principles. You review the guiding principles when and before you make any value goals. And then the value goals inform our outcome goals and our practical, tactical, measurable goals. So there's a whole system there. Regardless, even if you're just doing simple goals and not using PPV, review the guiding principles when you're setting up your goals so that they're aligned with the things you care about. If you pursue goals that are not aligned with the values that you have and where you find meaning, you will be wasting time working really hard in the wrong direction. Sooner or later, you'll realize it and it will be wasted effort. Establish goals that are directly and clearly aligned with your values and meaning in life, and therefore your guiding principles. And then ultimately take on responsibility that will produce more of this purpose and meaning. Purpose and meaning comes from responsibility. When you're serving others and they're counting on you and you're delivering for them, that gives you meaning, that gives you purpose, and it becomes super, super rewarding. I think if you look at your history of the most rewarding things, it involved contributing in some way to a cause bigger than yourself, to a mission, to a purpose, to an idea that affected more than just yourself. So ultimately, you take on responsibility, you'll have commitments, and that will give meaning and purpose to your life. As you explore where you're touched most deeply, I think increasingly over and over, one of the patterns will be it's when you're affecting other people more than just yourself. So look for that pattern. There's a little hint as you're going through the exercise. And make a practice of capturing your experiences and studying them in an ongoing way. So we did this past exploration of our histories. Now, on a regular basis, whether it's a monthly review or whatever, in the PPV system, we do it capturing milestones, accomplishments, disappointments weekly, and then reviewing those accomplishments and disappointments monthly and quarterly. You can do it in whatever pattern or iteration you want, but make it a habit now going forward of capturing experiences and occurrences in your life that touch you in a way that's deeper than the typical surface activity. Document them as you go, and you'll see how your values and where you find meaning evolves and changes over time. And of course, you'll get deeper understanding of just your base level core principles. And just as we did in this exercise, you want to study them for patterns, for indications of value and meaning, not just listing them for the sake of listing them, but looking for patterns within them. In upcoming videos, we will discuss further how to apply these insights in life. If this is of interest, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get updates on future videos, and hit the like button if you found this video valuable. Leave thoughts or questions below, or join us in the Notion Life Design course to explore these topics more extensively. That's at notionlifedesign.com. I also write the Life Design newsletter on increasing human capability. I give away several of my best Notion templates to anyone who subscribes to the free newsletter. The newsletter link is also below in the show notes. Thanks for watching. Lots more to come.